sports podcast around Valdosta State University. Made by the students, about the Blazers, for Blazer Nation all around. You're tuning into the Inferno Blazer Sports Show with Jalen Scott, Garrison Allen, Kyle Hawthorne, and Chris Mercer. And if you can't take the heat, what makes you think you can survive the Inferno?
What's up, Blazer Nation? And for the first time in nearly 6 weeks, the Inferno Blazer Sports Show is back. The show by the students, about the Blazers, for Blazer Nation. My name is Kyle Hawthorne. On Season 3, Episode 3, Threes Up.
Threes Up.
I had to get the intro today. I'm here with Garrison Allen. G, go ahead and say hey to the people.
Hi.
We got Jalen Scott over there running the switcherboard. What's up, Jalen?
How's it going, guys? I'm so glad to be back, man. That hurricane really screwed us up.
Oh, yeah, it did. And across the table from me, we have the enforcer, Mr. Chris Mercer.
What's going on, man? What's going on, man? Great to be back, man. Great to see y'all back, man. It's good to be home. Good to be back.
Oh, yeah. We are all safe from the hurricane. We hope all of you, if you're in the Valdosta area or really anywhere in the south area that was affected by Hurricane Helene or Hurricane Milton in Florida, we hope you're doing all right. We got a really good show for you today. We got rapid fire with our extra Blazer athletic headlines, including basketball, cross country. Our nationally ranked football team is still burning it down in the top 25, all the way up to second in the nation. And then we got our volleyball team righting their ship, heading down to the bulk of the conference play. And to go along with that, we have women's soccer embracing the threes up atmosphere. But before we get into the show today, I really want to talk about hurricane relief in the area. If you want to support the recovery efforts for Hurricane Helene or Hurricane Milton or both, if you want to do that, we're going to provide some links in the description to a couple charities that we would like you to donate to, or if you feel led to donate to for these people in need. I can definitely say with the way Valdosta was, that was probably the first time I ever felt like I was in need because of a disaster like that. Yeah. It felt different for me. So definitely, I mean, we're getting back to normal here in Valdosta, but I know a lot of places in North Carolina and in Florida are not back to normal just yet. Yeah, man. So if you feel led to donate, we got these links in the description for you. But with that being said, let's get back into the sports world. I'm going to throw it over to G with rapid fire.
All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get into it. We start off with Blazer Golf. Recently came off a 9th place finish at the Hurricane Fall Invitational early in October with junior Elad Sebag tying for 21st overall individually. They will have competed in the Milton Makeup Tournament in replacement of the Copperhead Championship. Results and recaps will be available on www. I love wrestling though. www.vstateblazers.com.
Actually, I think Blazer Golf, at least the last time I saw them from the day one, they actually were in second. They were actually in second out of the 10 teams competing, right behind Tampa University. So they're still up there. They're still up there in the standings.
Oh, yeah.
Now.
Absolutely.
The XC teams will be running in the 2024 GSC Cross Country Championship, which has been moved to Clinton, Mississippi on the Choctaw Trails on Saturday, October 26. Men's and women's basketball released their schedules for the 2024-2025 season. The Lady Blazers scored third in the GSC preseason coaches poll with senior forward Victoria Icanazio being named to the all GSC preseason team.
I'm happy to see that they are ranked as highly as it was, considering the fact that they are that left last year and new coach coming in. They think highly of them, and I couldn't say I agree more.
I think the ladies will go deep this year. I would think so.
I would not be surprised. Yeah, in the slightest.
We'll get more of that when basketball season actually kicks off.
Oh, and I cannot wait.
Oh yeah,
I know you can't.
Next month.
Speaking of the Lady Blazers, their Bowling with the Blazers event is still on for November 5th at Jack's Bowling Lanes. Check their Instagram at VSU Lady Blazers for more info.
Hey, and one more thing though, Blazer Madness would be the Thursday.
Blazer Madness would be this Thursday, so by the time this episode comes out, it would have been a day after.
Hope y'all went to that.
Yeah, hope y'all went to that, man.
Yep. And guess what? It's almost that time of the year. VSU baseball is back
with
the scrimmage.
That's all me.
With the scrimmage versus Auburn University at Billy Grant Field at Tommy Thomas Park on Saturday, October 26th at 3 p.m.
We just want to say that's
Auburn University, not Auburn University at Montgomery. No, that is the Auburn University Tigers.
Yeah. The Auburn Tigers. Yeah, man. So I'm excited.
As some of my friends would say who are Auburn fans, War Eagle, baby. I'm not saying that for myself, though. I'm saying that for them.
Are you sure about that?
I need you to switch teams after what's happened to your teams these last couple of weeks. But
professionally. Screw that.
Yeah. But if Kyle, since you've got the intro, you mind I can talk a little bit about football?
Go ahead and get us started. We missed a lot of games, Chris.
We've missed a lot.
Yeah, let's go ahead and clue them up.
Let's start from where we left off. We left off previewing the Fayetteville State game. Valdosta State won that one 34-0. So briefly going through these next couple of weeks of games. That was the first shutout since 2021.
Nice.
And then against Erskine the following week. I'm going to try to not say the first thing that came into my head.
BTA.
BTA. I mean, whooping of 73-0. Most points scored in school history on this day against Erskine.
And first time back-to-back shutouts.
Yeah, first time back-to-back shutouts in school history as well. Sammy Edwards had 4 touchdown passes.
Also, the most points they ever scored.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier.
Just said that.
I'm sorry.
Too many times getting pickled. But,
What do you mean by that?
That is a reference from earlier.
So, and speaking of, that was when we were scheduled to shoot the next episode that was supposed to come out on the 27th before the highly anticipated matchup against West Alabama. It was a battle between two unbeatens. I believe we were 3rd and West Al was 10th.
I think they were
at
10
the time.
Yep.
And of course, as we all know, that game would end up being canceled as a result of Hurricane Helene. Rightfully so, because Valdosta was an absolute mess.
It was a wasteland.
Yeah, it really was. So that game being canceled has really screwed things up in the standings, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. But they would return to the field on October 5th against Shorter, winning that one 59-6. Another really solid day for Sammy Edwards, and also saw the first defensive touchdown scored on the year in that game against Shorter. It was a fumble recovery, I believe, by Larry Elder, who we're going to talk about how he has had a great year.
Oh, yeah.
And finally, we get to North Greenville. Now, if you're sitting there at home or wherever you are, you're like, man, we've really dominated. We've only given up 6 points in these 3 games. And then we get to North Greenville, where they barely squeaked by at 32-24.
Yeah, we were trailing for a lot of that game.
We were trailing until the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
A lot of defensive coverages. By the way, that 24 points is the most points they've allowed all year. They didn't even allow 24.
Yeah, the most they've allowed so far
they
is
only allowed 24 in 2 games, and then that game they just absolutely, defensively they just felt like they were missing a lot of their coverages. And however, that defense came up through with a strip sack.
Well,
and we were able to escape with a
it's great to blow out your opponent every week. It makes you look scary. It makes you look confident. But it's also really good to have a game like that where you fight and you win. Because it's very hard. It's very, very hard to win and win big all season long. And you go like 10-0 and whatever, 10-0, 11-0. And then you get a challenge in the playoff and you don't know what to do.
Yeah. That happened in 2019 here. They finished out undefeated, and then they lost to West Florida.
Yeah. So, I mean, you need to know what to do when you're trailing. And I think they handled it very well. They squeaked by with the win, and that's very good. But
I think that,
I gotta seriously give my props to North Greenville quarterback Dylan Ramirez. I was listening to the radio broadcast on my way back up to Marietta and Beaufort area, and as I was listening to that game, I mean, I heard a lot of Dylan Ramirez, heard a lot of his name. I mean, up to that point, I had no idea who this guy was, but he put on a great quarterback battle against Sammy Edwards up until the 4th quarter, where he made a really, really poor decision of throwing it away on 4th down that led to.
If you watch that game back, there were 2 things that were highlights of the game. It was one in the 2nd quarter, which is play of the year right now. Alfonso Franklin takes a wheel route on 3rd down, and he's going up the sideline. Hurdles and clears the North Greenville defenders as he rumbles into the end zone for a touchdown, which was a huge point of the game. I mean, when we'll talk a little bit more about, discipline issues and things like that in terms of, penalties.
Yeah, that'll come towards the end of this segment.
But we get to in that fourth quarter, Ramirez has space on that fourth down. I mean, because he was beating them with their legs all game long, same way that Sammy has done so many times this year. And he, completely misses that opportunity to run, which was uncharacteristic, considering the fact that he carried the ball so much. And Valdosta State got away with that one. And like better teams win that game.
Exactly.
So Big Valdosta State has to take that into mind. And that kind of leads us into first home game back.
Well, I want to say this. I don't know if y'all know this, but most of the whole team was sick. It's like there was a whole bug going around.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was.
Really? Oh, I actually did not know that.
Did not know that at all.
So that could be also part of the reason for the slow start. But yeah, they against North Greenville, they needed that. They needed that type of adversity to face when it comes to down the road when we get to the playoffs and we have actual games like that. So
yeah, and really when we get into the latter part of the season with Delta State and West Florida, those are going to be tough 7:00 games, I believe. I think both of them's playing at 7:00. Maybe
Delta State
is away at 3. But don't get me wrong. These are marquee matchups, so you need.
We're going to talk about Delta State and a little. Well, I wouldn't say this episode.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about what that did to the standings later. But as you was talking about, Chris, with the homecoming game, we come back. This is our first game back since the hurricane. And, I won't say it's on hand. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't say it was full domination because, I think it was like 21-7 at half. I think that was correct, right?
Well, no, Mississippi College didn't score. They didn't score their touchdown until the fourth quarter.
I believe it was 21-7.
No, it was the second.
It was 21-7 at halftime.
Yeah.
So
right.
it was. That was
that field goal. That's why
that was a pretty good game for them as well.
It was.
To have that little bit of a little bit of an adversity, but still, coming up with a 25-point win. But to Chris's point, Mississippi College is running the ball very good.
Going into this game and talking to Coach Jackson after, he was just like the formation threw them off. Of like going into the year, they were told new head coach. They were talking, it's going to be spread offense. They're going to be spreading the ball out. But no, this was the Mississippi College of single T. And
this was all Wildcat, triple option.
They
only had 38 yards passing and only threw the ball 3 times, threes up.
Props to them though. Props to them. You go in there and you have a basic game plan that is easily picked apart, and it obviously hasn't been working for them all season. They haven't won a game. Props to them for trying to shake it up and try to do something against the top team in the conference.
Don't get me wrong. They scored the second most points they've scored all year in one game.
The defense was just way too suffocating, especially highlighted by Larry Elder, named GSC Defensive Player of the Week for the 3rd time this season with the season high 11 tackles, 5 of them solo, 2 tackles for loss versus Mississippi College. And here's a funny thing. Here's a bit of a funny side note. A Blazer has won 7 of the 16 GSC Offensive Player of the Week and Defensive Player of the Week this season. 44% of those weekly awards have been won by a Blazer.
Out of all the teams. That's great. That's
incredible.
Yeah.
V-State was, in this game, one of the things that really, it doesn't feel like a complete domination game. It just felt like we just took care of business.
It feels like that too, honestly.
It just wasn't feeling like, it was like a Erskine or a Fayetteville where it's like, it was the fourth quarter. You really couldn't do much. But there was time left in that game where they could do more, but it just felt like, okay, we're not going to go all out and crazy. And talking to Coach Jackson after the game, he was just like, this bye week gives us a chance to heal up. And, there was a lot of guys that were on the sideline, banged up over the year. And this bye week coming up is going to do them absolute numbers.
Which is a good thing because bye week is kind of a new term for us because last season we didn't have a bye week.
No, we did not.
And now technically we've had 2.
Well, we've had 2. One unintentionally and one, But going into, if we look at now the standings, VSU is clear-cut number 1 in the Gulf South Conference, and that will stay that way.
Yeah,
going into the bye.
Followed by West Florida, West Al.
Yeah, West Florida and West Al. Now, West Al was previously unbeaten by the last time that you heard.
They beat Delta State.
Yeah. Well, hell, the Delta State.
Wait.
They beat
West Florida. Yeah, and then they lost to Delta State this past
weekend, 21-6.
Which gives them both 2 losses in the or 1 loss and 2 wins on the conference.
Yeah. Yep. And then that's huge right now. And for the first time, it feels like in a while, we control our own destiny in terms of if we want to win the Gulf South Conference outright.
We take care of business now. It's our conference, and we don't even have to share it.
Don't even have to share it. So, gentlemen, your thoughts on the Blazers as we go into a bye week? Where do you think that they are this season thus far? And Jalen, I'll let to start with you.
Well, to be frank, first of all, again, this has been one of the strongest VSU teams that I've seen in the past couple of years. In the past couple of years I've been here. I mean, last year showed the potential that this team could go. It really showed, okay, this is the ceiling that this team can achieve. This year, it really feels like they're gonna go. It really feels like there's a potential for a big run here. There's a big breakthrough, especially with VSU being ranked second in both the D2 football and the AFCA polls. I mean, again, we do control our own destiny. Sammy Edwards being excellent at the quarterback position, Blake Hester, Alfonso Franklin, and that running back tandem is, my goodness, that is something awesome. Deadly.
Yeah, it's awesome.
The defense as well, headlined by Larry Elder, and your receiving core, your tight ends, your kickers, everything just seems to be clicking for this team so far. So again, it really is within the Blazers' own hands to drive the ship the way they want to go. Now, if they do come across a road bump in the way, because 3 games are remaining on the schedule, we have Shawan after the bye week, which Shawan is Shawan. Not gonna say more on that. But then those last 2 games,
they've been playing teams tougher this year. They were better than where they were last year. But
then you got those last 2 teams: Delta State on the road, and then West Florida at home. Those are really the 2 games that are going to decide where you ultimately end up in Super Region 2, which is the goal here. I believe the goal for this team right now is not just home field advantage. We want the 1 seed. And this team has the potential to do it, especially among the likes of the other top teams that are in Super Region 2 in those other conferences. But it all comes down to, where do you drive this ship? And VSU, they've got all the control in the world right now.
And also thinking about what we could do in terms of the standings immediately, this coming Saturday is the battle between in Division 2, 1 versus 3 of Grand Valley versus Ferris State.
That's going to be a great matchup.
That's heavyweight. And
after Harding University, who was originally number 1, lost 17-13 to then number 9 ranked Wichita Baptist.
So let me give you all a little bit of a what if scenario. So 1, 2, 3 right now is Grand Valley, VSU, Pittsburgh State.
Yep. Oh no, I thought that was Ferris.
No. Ferris is still.
Well, it depends on the poll you go to. There's D2 and AFCA, so there's 2 different polls.
So if the Ferris State Bulldogs beat Grand Valley, they'll go up, but they won't jump the Blazers. And here's why. The first game of the season, Ferris State lost their game to Pittsburgh State.
Mm-hmm.
So they've still got the matchup on them. As of right now, Pittsburgh State is still behind VSU at 3. So VSU would be number 1 in the event that Grand Valley loses this Saturday. So it's an interesting thing to go right there. If we become the number 1 team in the nation, hopefully we won't drop that with 2 big games coming up with Delta State and West Florida. But, to Jalen's point, when we're talking about, I hate to get ahead of ourselves too much, but, we were talking about it on our personal time a few days ago, talking about Super Region 2 and, what that could potentially look like with the 1 seed and obviously getting that first round bye. As of right now, we have the 1 seed.
You think we have the 1 seed among
100%.
Among the likes of Johnson C. Smith from the Central Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, Carson Newman and Lenore Ryan from the SAC, and Miles from the SIC.
I'd love to see if we can get another matchup.
Number 1, Miles, not concerned with, because I want to say they have 1 or 2 losses.
They have one, but they're
Carson
the top
Newman is undefeated right now, but they play in the SAC. They don't play in the GSC.
Yeah, so does Lenore Ryan, and they're both at the top of their.
And we know Lenore Ryan quite well after last year.
At the end of the day, if VSU takes care of business and Carson Newman takes care of business, who is undefeated at the time, as far as far as I know, it's still going to be VSU because we play in the GSC. We play a tougher strength of schedule. The GSC is the SEC of D2.
Yeah.
We're going to be the 1 seed if we take care of business.
What do you think? What do you think about Johnson C. Smith on top of the CIAA right now?
What's the record?
Right now they're undefeated. And they look like one of the clear cut. They're one of the. They look like one of the clear cut teams. I believe we were also looking at a recent power rankings that came out, which again, power rankings are not official rankings, but in terms of strength of teams, at least in the last power rankings that we looked at, they had Valdosta State at 2, but the writer of those power rankings didn't have us as the clear number 1. It was rather Johnson C. Smith
in the super region.
For super region 2.
But here's the thing with Valdosta State that kind of concerns me a little bit. Now, talent wise, I think we can compete with any team that we can, that anything that can throw at us. Here is the problem. There was something that I noticed in the North Greenville game. It was things that I've noticed all year. The unnecessary penalties that are going to affect and cost you games against those teams that are the elite.
Oh yeah.
And there's something that I truly mean. And we're Blazer fans. We represent Blazer Nation. But let me tell y'all the actual truth. If North Greenville was even had a sliver of what talent that we have, we're sitting at a loss right now. Because in that game, the needless unsportsmanlike conduct, Alfonso Franken got 2 in 1 quarter.
One that was unofficial. And
one that was unofficial. Now, don't get me wrong.
Called.
That was a dumb call. Don't get me twisted. But also, there was another unsportsmanlike when Blazers got a sack on 3rd down that gave him an automatic first. Yeah, and the only reason why they're able to cover it up is because we got a strip sack later on in that drive. And then I look at, they cleaned up the act a little bit against Mississippi College, but it's been issues like that all year. And yeah, it doesn't help, it doesn't look like it's going to hurt when you're winning 59-6 or 34-0 or 73-0. The biggest issue that I have here is not only of discipline, because when you play a team that is built off of discipline and not on talent, that is when the rubber meets the road, and to show how much of a good team you are. Delta State, when they came in here last year, in the beginning of October, they were disciplined and they were able to wipe out all the unnecessary things that would doom another team. If Valdosta State can do that, and in ways I'm a little concerned about Shawan, I'm not saying that we might lose, but it just seems like, because when we were talking to Tyler Algiero after the big game that he had this past week, it just felt like they didn't even mention Shawan, because it's like, we have that game, but it's like, it doesn't matter. We're just worried about Delta State and West Florida. That happens to almost any good team, is that you overlook a team that got better, and, that ends up dooming us at the end of the year. Hell, look at Division I and see how underlooking what Vanderbilt and Alabama, and we know how that ended. Yeah, so we know how that we have the talent. I think this is a way better team than I think last year was, especially defensively. The biggest issue that I have is not only discipline, but also in terms of defensively, the type of tackling. Now, this is a true football aspect of it because I played and I know we're going to, wrap up. But when you arm tackling works against teams that can't play. What happens when you face Lenore Rhine and teams that like to run the ball and that will continue to run that ball down your throat and continue to punch it into the end zone unless you stop them and you actually put your body weight into it? You'll get run over every time. That's like, for you gentlemen here, would you arm tackle someone like Derrick Henry? Absolutely not. Thank you. Because at the end of the day, that's a poor decision and you're not going to be able to get anywhere. So when I look at Valdosta State, the only thing stopping them is themselves. If they can stay disciplined, they are not overlooking opponents. And I mean, Coach Jackson is trying to instill that. And that's something that, when you hear that every single week, like, oh man, we're going to take on Mississippi College, even though they don't have a win this year. We're going to play them tough. We're going to see, spread offense. Want to see how they approach it and things like that. And he's, that's the one thing that I think that's the biggest difference from last year to this year is that you're not overlooking. And if that starts at the head coaching level, that's great. But that needs to trickle down to every single one of them players. Do not get high off your own horse. Do not get high off of, oh man, we 7-0 and things like that. If they can manage things week to week, I think there was one thing that I heard this week that, and I'll wrap it up with this, is that we can come close to, you can't chase perfection, but you sure enough can catch excellence. And I believe that if we can get excellence out of these players and we can stay disciplined as we go into break here, going down into the final stretch of the year, we have an opportunity to see something we haven't seen since we've been here. And it's something that truly instills what Blazer football truly is about. Now, when we go against Delta, because I mentioned this stat last episode, and that is now lost in the void. But when we tried to do this episode before what game? Fayetteville State?
Fayetteville State. Yeah.
No, it would have been before West Owl.
Yeah, before West Owl. Yeah, before West Owl.
Before that had to get canned.
Yeah, before that got canned. But one of the things that, don't you hate it when you guys have a great idea and then lose track of it?
Yes, trust me, I have that happen a lot of times.
So let's flip it and rewind it here. Do you not know the last time that Valdosta State lost a road game?
When would that be?
2022, October of 2022, when they lost to, I believe Delta State was the last time that they lost a road game under Jackson.
You seriously mean to tell me it's been 2 years?
It's been 2 years. It will be 2 years by the time that they go play Delta.
Let me put this in perspective. I was a freshman.
Yeah.
I was a freshman.
Yeah. It's quite wild. And it's like they play on the road well. Obviously went unbeaten last year, and including beating Delta State on the road last year in the playoff. And, the way the playoffs are structured, in Division II, everyone's probably gone home. The crowd isn't as hyper. This is the biggest game of the year for Delta. That place is going to be loud. Yeah. It's going to have an environment of, because when I listen to and watch the final plays of West Al and Delta, that crowd is lively. That crowd is going to make it intimidating for those Blazers. And now, do they come up and flame them, or do they die down and they get and they get cooled off? That's the biggest thing there. And of course, we all know that West Florida plays us tough.
Oh yeah,
every year.
Every year.
Last 2 years, the scores, it's come down to one score every single time. 32-31 in 2022, and then 31-28 in 2023. So they're going to play us tough. We know that. So, I mean, unless there ain't nothing
so else, I'll say this, and then I'll send us to break here. This might not be a popular take. This might not be something that we as Blazer fans want to hear, but I am sorry to say it is the truth. VSU is ranked higher than they deserve right now. And here's why.
Okay.
Here's why. We are number 2 because other teams lost. We're number 2 because Harding lost. We're number 2 right now probably because we didn't play West Al. We would have hopefully we would have beat them. We would have beaten West Al, but let's be honest.
It would have been close.
We are still undefeated right now because a lot of things have happened in our favor.
Yes.
When I look at this team, like Chris was saying earlier, we are better than the 2023 Blazers right now, in my opinion. We're obviously a whole lot better than the 2022 Blazers, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
As of right now, until we can prove ourselves at Delta State and versus West Florida, I think that the 2021 Blazers are still better than the 24. But when I say that, I don't say it as, I was part of that team and, we're better because I was there. I'm not saying that. Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that we probably have a better chance at a title this year, not because we're so great, but because everybody else is having a down season. If Ferris State hadn't lost that one game, they very well could have been 1-2 right now.
Yeah. Same with Colorado School of Mines as well.
Yeah, Grand Valley is undefeated right now, but they're coming up with that big matchup. They play in the GLIAC, so eventually, honestly, I don't fully understand I don't really fully understand why VSU isn't number one right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not because they deserve it, but because we play in the GSC and it's a tougher schedule.
I guess that's maybe due to
it's not like a down year in the Gulf South Conference.
You know the GLIAC and the GMAC. They might have more teams right now. They're in the top 25 right now than the GSC does.
Oh, 100%.
Because going off the D2 football standings, there's only 2 GSC teams there. There's us and there's West Alabama. And the West Florida and Delta State got unranked in the D2 football poll. In the AFCA, it's VSU, West Florida, West Al, and Delta State. So, I mean, take it as you will from poll to poll, because obviously, we have 2 different consensus polls compared to Division 1, which has the AP and then the CFP. So, take that as you will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying we're bad. I'm not saying we're good, but I am saying this. I'm saying we have got a very, very good opportunity right now because of the teams around us.
Yeah.
I don't want us to start thinking that, we're so great, we can't be beaten.
Yeah.
There's a
glass ceiling. Because that's smack in the face against Lenore Ryan.
Because we're not that team. No, we're not that team. We're not the Colorado School of Mines from a few years ago. We're definitely not Ferris State.
Nope.
We're not Ferris State from 21 and 22.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're Grand Valley.
I don't think so either.
Now, obviously, they will be on opposite sides of the bracket when it's here and done.
Yeah.
And if you'll remember last year, Ferris State was the big bad coming off of those championships.
And they lost in the first round.
And they lost in their first matchup against Grand Valley, I believe. Yeah. But we're good to go right now. I just want to stress the fact that we're not as good as we think we are.
Yeah, because if you look
we're dang good.
Yeah, go ahead, G.
Let's get your hearing real quick.
I just want to say that I truly believe that the Blazers will run the table. But here's also the thing. It's hard to stay motivated if your team just continuously to win.
Oh, 100%.
So you think like a loss would hurt? Wouldn't hurt. I mean, it hurts them in terms of standings, but do you feel like it would help them in the long term?
Yes. Because I remember Coach Nick Saban said this on Game Day or Pat McAfee show, and it stuck with me. He said that it's harder to motivate a team after a big win than a loss. Because a loss, you're already upset and all that. You're motivated, ready to go like for the next week, next game. For a win, it's like, okay, we're the top dogs, but that's it.
Well, G, do you remember what I think it was our last game that we did before the hurricane and stuff? I remember talking to Taylor about it over Taylor Lewis, our graduate assistant, over the radio. I said, dang, like, I kind of wish we'd have a close game. It'd be interesting then. Like, to your point, I mean, I hope our players don't get bored by the fact of how great they are.
Yes, they are. And
I feel like that can happen against Shawan.
Yeah.
Like, Shawan has played teams
maybe
tough
not
all
Shawan.
Year.
I'm very concerned that if we go into Delta State or West Florida.
Well, that's the thing is, they know Shawan is a team that they are over. I feel like the players are overlooking. Maybe that's off of, when Tyler Gill was talking to the media and it felt like, he just didn't bring them up. Maybe that's that. But I just feel like, and I know we are running long. I'm sorry, Taylor. But like, they are overlooking this team. And we do not want to find out, oh man, we're not what we think we are, and having those conversations against a team like Delta where we're contemplating it. I feel like if we have to go into that Shawan game knowing that, we got to poke our chest out a little bit. But guess what? We need to go and play our best brand of football, because Shawan's been playing teams tough. Because, Mississippi College and Shawan kind of flipped. Because Mississippi College was really dual. They were fine last year and Shawan was terrible. Mm-hmm. Now it's kind of flipped. Shawan isn't bad. They're just, they're not there yet in terms of where they are as a team. And they have to play Shawan with a sense of urgency. And it was kind of like the same thing I brought up for Mississippi College after North Greenville. We got to start out fast. We can't, we can't punt on the first drive. And, anything that did, motivate me in a way that they scored on the opening drive. And they hadn't done that in any of the games.
Exactly. So, well, we'll see what the Shawan games turns out this week. We'll send it to a break real quick to talk about our Instagram and website. And when we get back, we'll talk about some volleyball with Jalen. This has been the Inferno Blazer Sports Show.
Hey there. Suppose you want to hear more hot headlines, scorching stories, and humorous but informative commentary on all things Blazer athletics? How about subscribing to the show, following us on Instagram at the Inferno B.S.S, or checking out our website at www.sites.google.com/view/the Inferno B.S.S so that you never miss out on any episode of the Inferno wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to the Inferno Blazer Sports Show, the sports podcast by the students about the Blazers for Blazer Nation all around. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to the Inferno Blazer Sports Show. Well, we just had a really, really good football section between the four of us, but if you have your own opinions, we'd love to hear them in the comments. Drop them in there, and we might be reading some on the show next time.
Yep.
If we got some good takes in there. But with that out of the way, I'm going to throw it over to Jalen with volleyball.
So volleyball the season keeps on going, man. It's been a long trek of a season so far. I mean, we're coming up towards the latter end of the season so far. I mean, the volleyball team currently sits in the middle of the pack of the Gulf South Conference right now after a 1-3 start in conference play, which they've turned into a 3-1 run over the past 4 matches. There's another 3. If anyone can also tell us how many times we said the word 3 in this episode, leave that down in the comments as well. We want to see if you're right on that.
Take a shot of water every time you hear the word 3. You will be planning. You will be hydrated. I promise.
Will be hydrated.
Not water.
What do you mean by that?
Some of that drink.
Hey, all right. How about this? Since this is Kyle's 3's Up episode, take a shot of syrup every single time we say syrup. Let's do that.
Tell me how many shots of syrup you took. Leave that down.
Oh, that'd be phenomenal.
But going over these last couple matches, we've had 3 recently. I'm going to talk about West Alabama, Trevecca Nazarene, and Lee. First one about West Alabama was a 3-0 sweep. It was an outright domination by VSU through 3 sets on Youth Day. Other than an aberration in the second set where West Alabama actually hit 240 as a team in that second set, VSU shut the Tigers' offense down, holding them to hitting absolute 0 in the first and third sets. Christina Pettigrew leading the team in kills with 10 and tied Lily Glover with 5 service aces. And let me just say this as well. The Blazers served 15 aces in that game against West Alabama. 5 each from Pettigrew and Lily Glover, 3 from JoJo Smith, and 1 each from Kaya Baker and Sabrina Ottens. I mean, the serving line was the Blazers' comfortable point, was the Blazers' comfort point that game. In West Alabama, unfortunately, still yet to win a conference match this year, at least the last time I checked those standings. Moving on to the next match where they went up to a little Tennessee road trip to GSC newcomer Trevecca Nazarene, also known as the team when I brought up to Kyle, what is that?
What is that?
If I find that clip, I'll play it here. We've got a new member joining us in the Gulf South Conference.
Here comes a new challenger.
Trevecca Nazarene.
What is that?
A liberal arts college out of Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, sounds like
Here it comes. Is what they are. But the Blazers dispatched the Trojans in 3 sets, but not without Trevecca giving it a fight in the last 2 sets. As a team, VSU hit 49 kills, 10 errors on 114 attempts for a .342 hit percentage, which is their second best hitting performance this season, along with 16 blocks and 2 aces as well. By the way, that second best hit percentage, their best this season, was against Erskine College in the VSU fall tournament back in September, where VSU hit, I believe it was .412 against the Flying Fleet of Erskine College in that game. So second best hitting performance against Trevecca. I mean, we'll take that all day if it leads to a 3-0 win. 3 Blazers hit double-digit kills. Mackenzie Murray and JoJo Smith with 12, Christina Pettigrew with 10, Katie Kallenberger locking it down on the front row with 4 Stonewalls. And in the second set,
I heard you say Stonewall on a broadcast.
I found a way to work it in. I found a way.
I was directing that night, and I was very happy to hear that.
Yes. And actually, in that game, in the second set,
wait, why weren't you not on camera 3?
Because the newbies run the cameras and I direct now.
Shame. Shame. They don't do it.
Anyways, as I was saying, Ava Young in the second set would make it 21-16 for VSU, but then Trevecca goes on an unprecedented 8-1 run to force a 24-22 set point to take the lead back, but VSU would shut it down in the second set. taking that one. And another big milestone that was achieved in that game, Christina Pettigrew notching her 1,000th career kill as a Blazer, the second player this year to do so.
And JoJo Smith was the other.
And JoJo Smith was the other. It's actually the third big 1,000 career milestone for VSU in 2024. Smith and Pettigrew again with 1,000 career kills each. Actually, as a matter of fact, here's something I'm not sure you guys would probably know. Christina Pettigrew is not a 4-year player at Valdosta State. She was actually a transfer. She was
because she transferred in after her freshman year.
She transferred over to Valdosta State after her freshman year, where she played at Northeastern Junior College.
Man, 1,000 kills within 3 years is
1,000 kills total over 4 years.
Crazy.
Yeah, over 4 years, and then obviously Audrey Bennett with her 2,000 career assists along her 4 years. So just fantastic stuff there from our Blazers, and then we end up taking on Lee later on, which was a hard-fought effort by VSU against an equally tough opponent that eventually ended in a 2-3 loss. But here's the thing. It was razor thin in terms of team statistics, but only 7 more errors was the difference between Lee and Valdosta State in that match. Actually, as a matter of fact, let me pull up the team statistics.
We would like to thank a special sponsor to this episode, Nobody, and K-Rose Syrup Shots for the official sponsor.
we cannot have sponsors. But anyways, going over those team statistics.
Unless... Actually, no, let me not get a K-Rose sponsor.
Here's the team statistics for that game that was broken down. 60 to 62 kills. Lee led that. 150 hitting percentage for Valdosta State, 201 for Lee. 56 assists for VSU, 58 for Lee. 10 aces to 9 in favor of VSU, 13 blocks to 14 in favor of Lee. But where the difference was 31 to 24 errors in favor of Valdosta State. That was really the big difference maker there in that game. The Blazers went on a 5-0 run in the first set, capped by an Avery Mullins ace that led to a set 1 victory. And then Lee would have come out fast, 17-2 in the lead in set 2. To start, which would then turn 21-8. Then a 9-2 rally from Valdosta State made it 23-17. But unfortunately, Lee would take over set 2. Because if you go up 17-2 to start a set, you better win that. You better win. I don't care what team you are. But then heading on to set 3, steady VSU lead in the third set, 21-15 after Pettigrew and Smith get their kills. It came 25-20. But here's a set that I really want to focus on. Set 4 between Valdosta State and Lee. There were 16 tied scores and 5 lead changes in set 4 that eventually culminated in a 31-29 victory. I know, Chris, I showed you that score, or I told you that score during the football games. I was keeping up with that. I was keeping up with it as well during the football game. And I remember you looked at me. I was like,
which football game? When we went to...
No, it was this most recent one.
Oh, okay.
Against Mississippi College. I told you what that score was in set 4.
Yeah. I'm
31-29. You're going deep into extra points there.
Yeah.
For that one.
Okay, I remember that now.
But unfortunately, Lee would take set 5 and win 3-2. Right now, the Blazers currently sit 5th behind Lee and in front of Montevallo. Their next match, when this episode releases, they'll actually have 4 matches in 3 days, all the way where they head back up to Tennessee to take on Union and Christian Brothers to make up both of those series. They'll face Union on Friday, October 25th at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. and Christian Brothers on the 26th at 3 p.m. Then on Sunday, the 27th at 1 p.m. All those matches are on Flow Volleyball and Flow Sports. No shame, no plug. I'm just telling you where it's all happening. But for this team, that made it to the GSC championship last year. We beat West Georgia in the first round and eventually fell to Montevallo in the second. Right now, the Blazers sit in a spot where they'll be playing away. They'll be going away at a GSC championship match. But out of any time that there is now, it's time to hunker down and get ready for this team to stake their claim.
Stability is probably the biggest issue for them right now, is because obviously Hurricane threw them off, and I know that they had a couple games in Americus, if I'm not mistaken, or I'm thinking that's for soccer.
No. They had an extended stay in Alabama. They had an extended stay in Alabama where they faced Auburn Montgomery on the road. They faced Auburn Montgomery, Montevallo, West out. No, they didn't face West Out on the road, and Alabama Huntsville. which was that 1-3 start. I mean, Alabama Huntsville still probably clear cut number one team in GSC right now. Next to
soccer
West Florida.
was the one that played in America.
Yeah, soccer.
Yeah, because I went to that game.
Okay, yeah, it's just like it's just a lot of stuff has happened, especially in terms of
Did you have to work at G?
Well, I was working the game at Rome, and then the next day we had just.
Yeah, we'll get more to those
game in Americas.
Yeah, we'll get more to those Americas
Much
games.
love doing that. But just like I just feel like stability is probably the biggest thing. Obviously, being back at the Plex helps. Hurricane stuff is kind of over with, and everyone's starting to get back to normal, especially with us on campus. And I think that when they're able to isolate that, I think that they have a really good chance to at least make a good run of it, where they can at least get into that third or fourth spot, of kind of like where we had them projected.
Yeah, because after that little 4 games in 3 days stretch up in Tennessee, we got West Florida at home, Montevallo at home, and Alabama Huntsville at home, back to back to back. So I mean, the Blazers have usually always played most comfortably at home.
Listen, if someone's intestines are going to look like syrup. It's just going to be so syrupy now.
But I mean, for this Valdosta volleyball team, especially someone who has covered them this season at home, this team absolutely has the talent to make a deep run. I would say GSC. I would say honestly GSC semis or GSC finals. Because honestly, this team has the depth. They have the talent. They have the talent at the front row positions with Smith, Murray, Onsens, and Pettigrew, Bennett, and they're bringing their young talent as well of Lily Glover, Haley Holder getting a couple starts. Avery Mullins, the redshirt freshman, getting her runs in at setter, kind of swapping in and out for Audrey Bennett being the only setter on the court. I mean, Avery Mullins is coming to her own so far. So to have that setter depth is really, really important for this team that I think can really carry this team further on into the playoffs. But it all comes down to taking care of business at home and on the road, especially against teams that you're going to find in the mid tier and teams you're going to have a struggle against. But with that being said, for volleyball, I'm excited to call the remainder of these games, man. I mean, West Florida, Montevallo, Alabama, Huntsville, then later on, then at the end of the season, we have Trevecca Nazarene again and Lee at the end of the season. That's going to be a fun one to come back to. But we're going to switch gears here and go from the hardwood court to the soccer pitch, as women's soccer is still fighting to live another day.
Yeah, Jalen, I'll go ahead and take care of soccer for you. So Blazer soccer snaps a 4-game winless streak. 3 losses, 1 tie, with back-to-back wins over 2 GSC opponents. But they currently sit on the outside looking in, so we're going to look at a few games. They tie West Al 0-0. The match was actually moved to Americas. That's the one that Chris was talking about. They moved that because there was no way we're having anything going on in Valdosta right now. Lady Blazers were severely outshot versus the Tigers, 15-7. 10-4 shots on goal with 5 corners from West Al and 10 saves from Claire Timberlake.
She is a brick wall.
Yeah,
she is a brick wall.
She's been doing good this season. 4 saves from the West Al goalkeeper, Dior Watson. But that's you're on edge for that game. You just experienced a hurricane like no other in Valdosta. We thought that Idalia last year was going to be the worst thing to ever hit Valdosta.
You had another thing.
We had another thing coming.
Yeah,
if you know, you know.
We were we were off our game because of that. I can definitely understand that. I would be too. I was off my game. But
at least we still got a conference point out of that.
Exactly.
Because in a tie, both teams get a point for conference standings.
And I really like how soccer does that, and nationally and internationally. But you take the loss versus number 15 West Florida 3-0.
That was always going to be a tough match to play.
The big old shutout versus a top ranked Argos team. West Florida goals in the 21st, 30th, and 49th minute. They led on shots 16-3, shots on goal 12-1. They got the lead in corner kicks as well, 6-1, with Hunter Wallace, our lone VSU goal and shot on goal. Again, Claire Timberlake, let's mention her again. 9 saves on the match. It could have been a whole lot worse.
19 saves in 2 matches. And she's something different.
As we go through a tie and a loss. Let's talk about a win at Spring Hill, 4-0, dominant 4-goal shutout.
Perfect.
It was the first conference win for the soccer team. Season high 4 goals from Caitlin Schur, scoring her first in the 7th minute, assisted by Danero. Molly Munich with her second of the year in the 44th minute. Sarah Hudson getting her goal in the 76th. And then Kaylee Kearns seals the deal with the shutout with her goal in the 86th minute. Just an overall dominant performance from the Blazers.
You mentioned the assist by Dana. Now she was actually recently named the Steel's Jewelry Athlete of the Week, along with
Good for her. Congratulations.
Along with Takeshi Tako as well for his performance up at the ITA Nationals. He performed outstandingly as well, and Dana now as well, also winning Steel's Jewelry Athlete of the Week. Congratulations to them both.
Hey, just a quick little editor's insert here. During the editing of this episode, we actually had 2 new Steel's Jewelry Athletes of the Week, the 2 being football's Larry Elder and volleyball's Christina Pettigrew. But when this was recorded, it was indeed Takeshi Tako and Anna Dandenau. Either way, congratulations to all of our Steel's Jewelry Athletes of the Week.
Yeah, we keep our winning ways going versus Trevecca Nazarene, whatever that is. Before we go ahead, the first time Jalen told me that, I thought it was like some tribe or something. I didn't know.
Wow.
Like,
and he had issue when I said Cairo last year.
We're not going to discuss that. But actually,
it's part of my Cairo culture to get mad at anybody who says Cairo. But we take that win 4-2. A little bit of an early struggle.
That's not how you say
before the. No, it's not. G. No, it's not.
We have to show you that episode. We're gonna have to show you that.
But, that early struggle turns into a second half shutout. 3 goals in the first 6 minutes from Trevecca Nazarene in the 2nd minute, 4th minute, and 5th minute. So my God, just terrible.
Trevecca in the second and
in
fourth. I can actually recall how that went because I worked that game. Trevecca Nazarene, their first goal in the 2nd minute was actually a bit of a clever work there. They had a free kick. They had a free kick outside the penalty box. They kind of did like a fake kick and then got it up and over the middle. Blazers tried to clear it out, but unfortunately failed to do so and ends up in the back of the net.
I mean,
Trevecca in the 4th minute, it was just a clean break down the middle and up in the back of the net, and VSU would respond.
But to that notice, I mean, what a comeback though. I mean, Molly Wildress with a goal in the 61st minute, Hunter Wallace with hers in the 70th, and then Maria Rojas in the 83rd minute. We get that dominant comeback there. We will say that VSU was called for offside 3 times, so we got to clean that up. But G and Jalen were at that game.
We indeed were. Yeah, there's a little note I added there.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I kind of wish I was at that game now. 3 goals.
You were there. You were there for a bit. You were there for the first half, but missed the whole second half.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You missed the entire second half.
I missed the first part of it too, obviously.
Might I say, I have yet to been to a VSU soccer game where they have lost this year.
Okay, you're coming Friday.
Absolutely. And Sunday as well.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the last
the last one is a lost Auburn Montgomery 2-1. Another super even matchup for 2 teams. Scoreless through the 39-minute mark where Auburn Montgomery struck first and then scored early again in the second half in the 51st mark. Molly Wooldridge gets our goal for VSU in the 68th minute. But 3 more VSU failed shots. That really sealed the deal for us. The Blazers sit 9th in the GSC right now with a 5-6-1 record, 2-4-1 in the conference with 7 conference points, currently out of a playoff spot. My question to you guys is, what do you think the VSU soccer team has to do to get into the playoffs and then further from there?
I would say that game against Trevecca Nazarene, other than the early struggle, but the way VSU played against Trevecca Nazarene, that was Blazers soccer to a T. Offensive dominance of pressuring the other team to get the ball in their zone and keep it in their half. I remember VSU, I think at one point had like 2 or 3 corner kicks back to back. That's just how suffocating the offensive pressure was. I mean, it takes it takes all the defensive pressure in the world from our forwards and our midfielders, and our defense is just shutting it down, especially with a couple of freshmen, on the back line. They've been playing outstanding, but obviously the offsides issue, we do need to kind of clear up where we're kind of getting a little too aggressive. But other than that, the way they play against Trevec and Nazarene, the way they played at home, we're actually going to follow up with that when we get into the next couple matches. But the way they play at home, they need to be able to take that on the road and really show teams, hey, we can play as well at home as we do on the road.
I think stability would be the biggest thing. Kind of the same thing I brought up with volleyball, being back, not having to worry about certain things, being able to, get back into the flow and the rhythm of it after, an extended period of uncertainty. I think it's going to do wonders for them, being able to be, stable again and get back to the normal routine.
Yeah. This may be kind of a answer, but score. VSU has been.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's something you got to do.
Yeah, it's just they just been struggling with scoring, and I get it. It's hard, but at the same time,
comes down to finishing ability. Yeah, that's something I talked about a lot last year in the couple members I did. But I honestly think that's something they've had a bit of an uptick.
I can't believe we haven't had a freaking ember this year.
I mean, we've been swamped. Well, not just swamped with the hurricane stuff, but also just so everybody knows, the three other gentlemen that I'm sitting with here right now are graduating at the end of this semester.
Yes, I'm getting out of jail. I mean, graduating. I am. Look, I'm ready.
School.
Anyway, I mentioned the reason why we talk about embers and things like that, but got a little sneak peek for y'all a little later on.
Let's go and get into what's the next match?
Let's go ahead and highlight this next match coming up versus the Union Bulldogs at the Fieldhouse on Friday the 25th at 7 p.m. I'm just now learning that I don't have a soccer game to work tonight as of recording. We're recording this on a Tuesday, and I'm sitting here in my work uniform. Thinking I had to be at soccer at 6 o'clock, but nope. I guess not now. So
look
I don't know
what the Falcons were on Sunday.
And also that game's a pink out too.
Oh yeah. So wear your pink. Wear your pink. And then we have a matchup against Christian Brothers also at home on Sunday, the 27th at 1 p.m. That's senior day. So come out and support these seniors. VSU's last home and home series this season. The team is 3-1 at home, scoring 10 goals and allowing 5. This is really the best time to capitalize on earning conference points against a tough Union team and I would say a middling Christian Brothers squad before a Mississippi road trip. But with that said, Chris, you were highlighting that you got a little bit of a extra ember coming out. Can you give us a little bit of a preview on that?
First of all, it's crazy. We haven't had an ember yet, and especially when we've, celebrating years and, it's been now over a year since we've started the show. And the Ember gets a chance to, highlight things that we may have missed and going over certain things. VSU football's on a bye. And not only as me as the sports editor for the Spectator, I need content. And I love talking a little bit about, where we are sitting at right now. And I feel like if we're at a bye week for football, gives me a chance to highlight, where we are, the state of the Blazers, title of that extra ember that should be out next week. But not to spoil and go ahead, I am very much looking forward to next week, and you will know why next week.
Yeah, we've got a special episode coming next week. Do we want to go ahead and say who our special guest is?
I'll leave it at this. We're having a special episode with a newcomer to Titletown in a very, very high prestigious position, if I can say those words correctly, in the athletics department.
He's one of the head honchos.
Oh, yeah. So
the only thing I can say is we outside. We outside.
We're finally taking the Inferno outside. But, as we close out season 3, episode 3 today.
Three's up.
Finally.
Just honestly, let's be honest, guys. The past 6 weeks have been crazy for this area, for the podcast, for really everybody sitting in this room, and probably a lot of people sitting out there listening to this voice right now. But just honestly, just thank you guys for being patient with us. It's been crazy. We're happy to be back. We're happy to put out content for you guys. But that's going to do it for season 3
one more
episode.
thing, man. Take care of your mental health.
Absolutely.
It is. If you live in this area, if you live anywhere that has been affected by this hurricane, take some time for your mental health. You know, it is going to get crazy around here in terms of, you know, for us as seniors, and whether you're a sophomore, freshman, if you work a regular 9 to 5, which I appreciate if you listen to this on your 9 to 5, but like, take care of your mental health. It's been a lot that's been going on, and it can be a lot to rack the brain around. Do not let this overwhelm you to the point where, you know, you start taking it out on others. So take time for your mental health. Everyone around you will appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That's very important.
And one last thing again, those links for the hurricane relief efforts are again in our description below. If you guys sincerely want to donate to help the southeastern area continue to grow and rebuild after the hurricanes, we're still recovering from that today. So links are below. That's up to you guys. But
hey man, we gonna wrap this up here, man. For G Money, we got Kyle Hawthorne and Mr. Half and Half Jalen Scott. We appreciate all y'all for joining us. And hey, Craig, holla at the people.